Welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the place where you can learn how to create a dental practice and a business life that you love. Listen in with Dr. David Moffat as he interviews successful entrepreneurs and successful business people and successful dentists as they share their business successes, their stories, and their breakthrough ideas, sharing pearls of wisdom that you can take back to your practice and implement immediately so that you can have that great practice with more patients, higher profits, and less stress. This is the podcast where great dental practices meet with successful business processes. Thanks for tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the podcast where thought leaders, industry experts, and thriving practice owners reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies that will help you grow your dental practice faster. Now, here's your host, Dr. David Moffat.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. David Moffat. It has just gone 9 o'clock Monday morning here in Burrowang in New South Wales in Australia. You know where I am, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the studio all the way across in the United States of America in San Antonio, Texas, Yoli Dick. So, Yoli, thanks for joining me and welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast studio. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank you, Dr. Moffat. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, it's Sunday here. It's 6 p.m. here in Texas. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, lovely to have you.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
you work in dental now, but anyone listening or watching this podcast would appreciate that you've got a little bit of a South American accent, and you were telling me that you came to United States to marry your husband, and that when you came, you weren't actually even working in dental, you were working in telecommunications and marketing. And so
Yes.
you've now had a career in dental for more than 10 years. And I like what you do. You work with specialist practices, helping them to deliver more necessary treatment to their patients who may not actually understand what the dentists are actually saying. So tell us about your journey coming to America. You know, it's the old Arnold Schwarzenegger style thing. I'm going to America to make my fortune, and then
Yes.
being
So,
successful.
okay. So I'm original from Caracas, Venezuela. I was born and raised there. And the mid 2000, I graduate as a marketing professional. And then after that, I chose work in marketing in the telecommunications industry. I mean, that's how I actually started right after college to gain my marketing expertise. So I was always on that. And then I went to food and beverage. So I'm always being on customer service my whole life. And so I met my husband. We'll be happily married for 17 years this year. And so I met him years ago back in my country. And then, 2 years later, he decided to propose. And so I came to the United States and we got married in 2009. And then I've been living in the US since then. So how I started in dentistry, that's funny because when I moved to the US, the jobs that I looked was in telecommunications because it was the world that I know, right? And so I work with one of the biggest company here in the US who happens to have the same technology that I acquire all my marketing experience back in my country. And so at the time, my goal was in the future to be part of their marketing department in the headquarters. So that was so I've started here and it was funny because my English wasn't great. I was not even close to what it is now. I understood and I read and I could write, but as an adult, we learn a second language differently that kids does. And so I always was afraid that people might not get my accent. And sometimes I still do because sometimes I speak too fast or my pronounce is not correct. So I was always self-conscious about that. In fact, when I went to my first interview in that telecommunication company, the regional sales manager asked me, so what are you afraid of taking this job? And I told him, well, I'm really more afraid that the customers might don't understand me. And he laughed and say, I understand you perfectly. So you have no issues. So it was kind of like a great experience for me because the store that I used to work at was a multicultural store, which means there were people from Puerto Rico, there were people from Korea, there were people from different the US. So I was able to kind of fit in because we will all kind of have like some kind of accent or some kind of, weird trick or whatnot. So it was a great experience. And, I've learned a lot, and I work obviously in the marketing portion. So I was in charge of the decor of the office based on the marketing protocols. So I was already familiar with that. But then my husband and I bought our first home very far away from that store. So I needed to quit just because I was moving farther away. So my commute was going to be terrible. And so I know a lot of people I'm going to laugh right now with what I'm about to say, but I never drove in my life. I never needed a car. I was born and raised in the city, so I'm always used to take the metro everywhere, the train everywhere, buses. But here in the US, no, I needed to learn how to drive, and I was so scared. I was like, "Oh, no, I didn't want to." And my husband told me, you need to learn how to drive because that's the way that you can transport yourself to work. And so when we moved, I needed to take the highway, which it took me years to drive in the highway, but I think that's a story for another time. So anyway, so I decided to quit that job, and then we moved, and I've kept very good friendships and relationships with the people that work with me, and then I. When the area that we moved, I went to a dental appointment. And so when I was waiting for my name to be called, I noticed that there were some patients that speak Spanish, but nobody in the office did. So they were having like a hard time trying to figure out what the patient was saying. And then as a marketer, after my appointment, I decided to make some research about the location that we were in to see how much, what was going to be the percentage of Hispanic population within that area. And so I decided to bring my resume to the office in my next appointment. So I got my dental appointment. And so when they called me, I was sitting on my chair, and then the doctor came and she started talking to me. She's a prosthodontist doctor, actually. She's very good. And then I said, well, you know what? By the way, I'll bring you my resume. And she was like, what? Like that never happened here. I mean, nobody brings their resume to a freaking dental appointment. But I did it because I know the office belongs to a giant DSO in the United States, so I don't have experience. And so my English wasn't great, but it was good. I mean, I was able to kind of translate things. And she told me, I never seen this before. Nobody have ever bring me the resume on the dental appointment. And so she liked the fact that I was so bold and so interested on become part of the team, because I told her that my experience at the beginning, this patient was trying to communicate with your team, but nobody was able to communicate with her. And I think that is very important step. And so after months, they reach out to me. So I got the interviews and all those things, like, big corporations here in the US, you have to pass like 2 different protocols, and I got hired. And so I was hired as a receptionist of the office. And that's when I started learning about the dental insurance codes and procedures and things. Like I knew that stuff as a patient. I'm always being a dental patient since I was a kid. I have ortho like 3 times, multiple extractions. I mean, I know all that stuff from a patient standpoint, but at this time I was on the other part of the chair. And so it was a very difficult process for me to learn because of the language, right? So I used to translate a lot of wordings to Spanish, so I kind of could understand what I was reading or what they were talking. And so then this company in particular, I like the way that they onboard new employees. And so they give us, for the receptionist, they give us like a brief of what happened on the clinical aspect of things. So they give you like a couple hours of training up. So they show you what the dentists do, what hygienists do. Like, for instance, in my country, we don't have hygienists. Hygienists are not being used in Latin America. And I learned that that's a thing here in the US. And my country, the dentist is the one who cleans your teeth. But here you have a dental hygienist, like the same in Australia. You guys have a hygienist that clean your teeth. So those are all I needed to learn all that side of that industry that is completely different of as dentistry back in my country. And so, but when I experienced that clinical portion, I was like, oh my God, this is very interesting. So I started kind of like getting the feel of I wanted to learn a little bit more about that part because I thought if I ever grow within this business, I want to be able to kind of, if I'm going to present a treatment plan to a patient, I want to be able to understand how they're going to feel and how the process is going to be. Because for me, a sales pitch in a healthcare environment, it shouldn't not be a transactional, like when you're going to go and buy a car or when you're going to go and buy a cell phone. It's something very personal, it's health related, right? And so I wanted to learn all that. And so I was lucky that in the office that I used to work at, I found a mentor, a dentist mentor. Her name is Dr. Kara Baker. She's a general dentist. And then she started asking me, Yoli, did you want to practice this? Did you want to practice take an x-ray or did you want to practice this? And I was like, sure. So in the state of Virginia, which is what I used to live before, you need an x-ray certification is a requirement for you to be able to take x-rays. And so I went and got my x-ray certification. I went to class and I passed. So I was able to take panoramics, FMX, bi-wings, and all the stuff. And so I started taking panoramics, and then the doctor was, "Hey, Yoli, can you take a PA or number 7?" Okay, yeah. So I started getting like more involved in the clinical, and so she told me, you are natural. Why you don't do a course to become a dental assistant? And I was like, "What? No, I already hold a bachelor degree in marketing. What are you talking about, man? I don't have time for this." And so I thought when she meant by that I was going to be in college like for years and it was going to be like super difficult for me to do. I was like, oh my God, how much money I have to invest on this? But then it wasn't. And so I find this place when I did, I think it was like a 6 months course or why not. And I love it. So I learned all the teeth numbers to do impressions, to the instruments. So I learned all that world. And I was like, God, my God, this is not only about this is more than that. And so I got like so excited about it. And so then obviously, I don't want to brag, but I was the top of my class because I really got to it. And then I discovered surgery, oral surgery. And so I told my mentor, Dr. Baker, I say, hey, I would love to work in an oral surgeon office because I was working at the time in a general dental office. And so she goes, here, the oral surgeon world is a completely different story as a general dentist. So this is what I'm going to do. She spoke with the oral surgeon practice that she used to refer her patients to and said, hey, I have Yoli. She's our business assistant and she's just graduated with her as a dental assistant. And she would love to see how the oral surgeon maxillofacial office worked. Would it be possible that you guys give her some volunteers hours? And they say, yeah, sure, no problem. She can come. And so I went. So I remember that the day I went, I got there I think before 6 o'clock in the morning. I was so excited. I was the first one. Nobody was there. Like the office was, nothing was open. But then I started knocking at the door and an old man is coming with his crocs and whatnot. And so I said, good morning. My name is Yoli. And I come here today for some volunteers hours. I come in from Dr. Baker, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, come. So he opened the door for me and he took me to the break room and then he was brewing coffee and I'm a coffee addict. So he started talking to me, but at that moment, I didn't know who he was. And I was so nervous that I didn't ask who he was. Well, at the end of the day, he was the owner of the practice. He was the lead surgeon, but he never told me anything. And so, I started talking to him and how excited I was. So he showed me these are our rooms. So he started showing, and I was like, oh my God, no way. And so then, I saw the patients and they put the IV on and the patient going fall asleep and and I was like, oh my God, no way. This is awesome. I mean, for me, that was so amazing to watch. And so Dr. Daniel Labriola, which at the end I find out that he was the owner, he was the one who opened the door for me, the one who invited me my first coffee in that office. He said, I want her. let's give her a chance to work with us, because he liked the fact that I was so interested on everything and he wanted to teach me. And so I was very lucky, because at those years ago, you needed to have at least 2 years experience to find a surgical assistant job, because you deal with, you deal with patients that are on sleep, you deal with anesthesia, you deal with all the stuff that I never did. And that changed my world. I mean, I can tell you that the years that I worked as a surgical assistant for that practice were one of the most amazing experience for me in my life. Like, I never thought that I was coming from a marketing expert, a marketing college degree, a marketing experience, to a surgical dental assistant. Like, I never, it was like, to me, it was amazing. And when I learned about dental implants, I was like, what the heck, what is this? And so I started going to his library and read books, and why not? And what are dent, how does it work? What is bone graft? What is all that? So I was so intrigued about it. I actually thought for a few months to become a surgical tech, which are the surgical assistants that go to actual hospitals to assist the surgeons, because my surgeons used to do some surgeries in hospital, but I couldn't go with them because I didn't have privilege. And so, but then of course my marketing background kicked in, and then I started calculating. So I was like, okay, so this is how much I have to invest on this, how much longer it's going to take me to get that money back. So how long, so, everything was for me like, no, I don't think so. So anyways, then I wanted to master dental implants. I'm a true believer that if I want to be good at something, I want to master it. So I get to learn it so badly that I master it. So, and that's something that I practiced my whole life. So dental implants, assistant dental implant cases, for me, it was my Achilles. Like, I never wanted, because there were so much instruments involved within the surgery, so many steps, that I thought, I don't want to mess this up. But I got it so badly. Like, I studied so much that I wrote a protocol and guidelines book for the practice at the end before I left. So, but I will get there. So anyways, so I became very expert on that. And then in one of our offices, I saw that we weren't doing so many dental implant cases on that particular office, which ultimately it affects the profitability of that particular office, right?
Yes.
Because as we all know, dental implants are the biggest ticket on an oral surgeon practice. So I thought, the numbers don't match up, because the doctors are the same. It's just a different location. And so I started, making research. I started checking everything in the office, and I noticed a lot of stuff like implants numbers that they never used, that were purchased years and years ago, or healing apartments that they never. So I saw an opportunity. I was like, this is money right here. So what if I contact the sales rep and be like, hey, is there a point that they can trade these? I can return these parts to you that cost money, but then you give them back the sizes that they actually use. I think that would help the surgeon to actually do more surgeries in this particular office. So anyways, I put a plan together, a marketing plan. And so I come to Dr. Labriel and say, hey, Dr. L, so I came up with this idea. I make this study. I've been working this for this amount of time. And this is something that, if you let me, maybe we can grow this in here. Maybe this office can make more money. And he goes, okay, go ahead and do it. And so I became a surgical implant coordinator plus a surgical assistant. And so that's when I was able to bring all my marketing experience within dentistry, and something that I love. And so one of the things that I noticed was that the relationships between the office and the referral office were a little bit broken. And I was like, wait a minute, but why? My doctors are very good. So what happened? So I started visiting offices. Like, hi, my name is Yoli, and I work with Dr. Zeded, Dr. Labriola. So I noticed that, you haven't sending up. Is there anything that we can do to help? So I kind of start like growing those relationships and being like my husband always said, you always like to be in the middle of the business that you don't have to be in. But this time it worked. So I realized that, hey, they still need that relationship, regardless if you are an oral surgeon, a periodontist, an ortho, endo, and you big toe referrals for years. It doesn't mean that the relationship could break at some point. you always has to be there. You cannot take them for granted, right? And so
Yes.
I was able to, in a year, we grow 65% the implant cases in the practice, like I promised Dr. L. I was able to get an inventory that was actually profitable. I was able to do the trade with the sales rep. I wrote a protocol and guidelines book for the next implant coordinator for the practice, so they can follow the protocol that helped me to grow that practice. And the reason why I left is because we moved out of state. We moved to Hawaii. My husband used to work in a government contract, and so we have to move. Anyways, 10 years, I became their marketing director. And so that's how I started. Like, when I was with them, I never thought that I was going to grow from a volunteer to become their marketing director. Like, I never put those 2 + 2 together ever. I never thought that this journey was going to take me to own my own marketing agency now. I mean, I really never thought that was going to happen, but I always believe that I'm able to be here where I am because I found in the way mentors like Dr. Baker, Dr. Labriola, Dr. Zaded, who kind of actually shaped me on that part of dentistry that I didn't really know, but it made me a stronger marketer. Why? Because I do understand the whole customer journey, like for real. I'm not telling you that just like the rest of the people online that they go and tell you, I know I understand 100% the customer journey from a patient perspective.
Yoli, it's an amazing journey that you've had so far, but there's
Mhm.
people in dentistry who work in dentistry in those roles that you've just described who never even understand that dentistry is really a customer service business.
Oh, yeah.
And so the relationship, even when you said developing the relationship between the specialist and the referring practice,
Mhm.
that's one of the I didn't realize when I left my office and started doing, working as an associate, how bad some of the
Yeah.
processes are. They just give them, sometimes they just say, we'll send you a letter to take to the specialist. We used to sit with the patient, and my receptionist would call the specialist office and book the appointment then and there, like a three-way, and so the patient felt like, oh, they're good friends. You'd be, hi Elizabeth, hi Jane, good to hear from you. And
Yeah,
and that whole relationship with the specialist starts from the moment that they need the referral, not from the moment they get to the office. So
exactly.
you're on that straight away. But people can go through
Exactly.
a whole career in dentistry or a whole life as a dental patient seeing specialists and never understand that there needs to be this relationship.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so, and that is why after a few years, when I opened my business, I used to work with general dentists and a specialist. But then after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on a specialty practices because I know exactly what they're missing. And so something that something I like to say is that I practice marketing the old way. I'm a Generation X. So I learned and I graduate as a marketing professional when there was not all this social media stuff, all these email marketing campaigns and all this. I actually study how to actually grow into a human relationship so they can actually trust you product and your service. That's pretty much what it is. The concept, it has not changed. What it changed was how you communicate with the patient. And so, but it's not only that, it's just that is such a strong competition within their own colleagues. And I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, another surgeon go 4 to 5 years longer to graduate as another surgeon. A periodontist does the same. The endo does the same. So you guys, there's always patients for everybody. But what they always forget is the customer service. Like they see for me, because I work with 2 DSOs in the United States, they see unfortunately patients as a check. And
Mm,
that is wrong. Why is wrong? Because what happened right now is that the populations see dentistry as something that they can have or they don't need to have. So that is a big difference. What happened when the population believed that I don't need to go to the dentist is that they lost respect for the healthcare professional. And so
yes.
then you see the healthcare professional at dentist sending mail saying $45 or $80 a dental clinic with x-rays. I mean, what the heck? No, don't do that. Don't freaking do that, because you are never going to receive on your mailbox a cell from a cardiologist for you to go to a cardiologist appointment to get an EKG, right? You're never gonna get that ever. And so I think that what happened is that they focus so much on the cell portion of, we need to sign treatment planning, that they forgot that at the end it's the patient who matters, really. And if the patient doesn't trust you, you're never going to get new patients from that patient. You're always going to, I mean, to me, it's like it's a connection. And if your specialty, like I said, and I always tell this to my clients, I say, if your specialty, it does not matter how many good referrals you have, you always have to be there for them, because they can be here today, but tomorrow they might not. And all these at the end is about building relationships. You build relationships with them. You build relationships with your patients. You build relationships with your team. It's a building relationship. Everything is. And so I always feel that that connection is lost sometimes. So for instance, when I get a lead, one of the first thing I do is that I not only do a market research, competitive analysis, a SWOT analysis, all that stuff. No, I study their team. I talk to their team, because the team is the foundation of that customer service to the patient. And you can be a great doctor, but if your team is not aligned with you, that's never going to work. A good marketing agency can bring you a lot of leads from a digital marketing standpoint. But if your team is not aligned and it's not closing those leads, so you're always going to believe it was the marketing agency fault. Yes. And so instead of me, all the markets that I know, they start from the outside to inside, right? I don't. I start from the inside out. So I polish what they have now, what they have done now. I polish their team. I assess their team. Then I talk to the client, and based on that is that I put a marketing plan. Because if the inside is not right, any marketing beautiful plan that I can put together is not going to work. And so what's going to happen is at the end, the client is going to be upset because the marketing did not work. But it didn't work because of me. It didn't work because you did not have the tools that you needed to make that work. And that's something that is missing also within dentistry. I don't know what your opinions are about that, but sometimes I found dentists that they believe that a marketing agency is going to do miracles, and they're, going to spend $4,000 a month in Google Ads and they get the leads, but then at the end they don't close any leads. But then they blame the marketing agency, and it doesn't work that way. And so when I come into the table, I'm honest with them. I said, that's not how you think it is. It doesn't work that. And so when I work with my clients, I know the type of marketing agency that I'm going to keep them hostess with me. Like, no, you are my client. I'm not going to teach you anything. If you want, you cannot. If you leave me, you lost everything. Because that's how things work here. I don't. I teach them how to do things. I make them sign a contract for a period of time, and I put a clause there that says, if you don't like to work with me anymore, you can cancel 30 days, previous days. Just send me a letter. I can cancel them also. They're free to go at any time. I'm free to go at any time. Why? Because I don't want to be that person that I want for you to be attached to me just because. I want to teach you how to do things better. I want to teach you how to manage your marketing budget better. I want to teach you exactly what you're missing the mark, what is important to your practice, what is important for your team. And based on that, I help you to grow. And, and I think that's the fun bit for me, is when I'm able to deliver those things to them, not only results, but like to make them, oh yeah, you know what? I never thought it that way. Or I never had that idea before, or nobody told me that before. And so I think that's very fulfilling for me, that I can.
I think you definitely got on the right track, and most dental practices think that I just need more new patients. I just need more leads. I just need more new patients. Just need to make the phone ring. And if they've got the wrong people working there, or worse still, Yoli, the practice has the wrong culture, and the wrong culture attracts the wrong people too.
Correct. 100%.
Yeah, and the culture's got to come from. It's got to come from the leader, but it has to match with what the goal of the practice is. And it's got to be a great place where people like you people do what you do. They're excited to get up and go to work early and be there early and learn as much as they can. and give back to the business that has given them the opportunity to have this job, rather than just turn up, go through the motions, and wait for the clock to turn 5 o'clock so they can get out and go home. And culture is important, and then get the right people, and then get that then you can train those people to do what they have to do if they've got the culture, and they're the people who are trainable. But it's very hard to train people who are negative.
Exactly. And, I think one of the things that is different from the rest of for a lot of marketing agency is that I'm always very honest and upfront. And I said, if you're looking for someone that is just going to do Google ads, or that is just going to focus on social media and make you viral, I don't do that. Because I won't respect a dentist, an oral surgeon that is dancing in a TikTok video just to make himself famous. I mean, I freaking hate that. I actually wrote an article about it, because I'm like, how can you expect from me, if I'm a patient watching another surgeon dancing just to a trending song on TikTok or Instagram just to make himself famous? It's the most disrespectful thing I could ever. And I know a lot of them, when they listen to me, they're going to be pissed because I'm saying that. I'm sorry, but you can have 1 million followers, 100,000 followers, but I'm pretty sure that 10% of those followers are people that are near to you. And maybe 5% of those you can probably call you, and 2% you might close that lead. So they're just focusing on that vanity. I call it vanity metrics. Those are vanity metrics. I don't care about your impressions. I don't care about how much followers you have. I care about how your team actually treat the patient, about how the patient feels when they go to your website and read the website, the experience they have. I want to know how the patient feel when they're in the chair with you. What are the questions that they ask when the doctor is out of the room? How they go out and speak about you in a Thanksgiving dinner. That is the vanity. That is the metric that you need to actually look at. And so when someone called me, hey, can I schedule a meeting with you? And I'm like, okay, what is exactly that you're looking for? If you're looking for this and that, so we are not a good match. Because I want to make sure to establish a strong foundation. So when I leave, at the time I leave, they can continue and do it by themselves. So at the end of the story, they will save money instead of hiring another marketing agency. They can do it themselves, because I give them, documents that they can do it themselves. So there is more work for me. Yes. That is not what everybody does, because everybody's just thinking about profitability and how many clients I'm going to get this month and whatnot. No, I care. I handle a handful amount of clients. I focus 100% on each one of them. I have a small team. They help me with a lot of stuff, but I focus on the real things and that human connection, and how the dentists feel with their surgical assistant, or with the assistant, or with the team. I mean, why the front desk is missing so many phone calls? What's wrong with that person? How is to find those little steps that a lot of people just don't see, and they're connected some way. How are you reading the post-op? Is the post-op care too long? Trust me, the patient's not going to read that. You won't even read that. When you get out of the hospital, you won't read that. It's about thinking those small little things that, but yeah, I never thought about it. It's about I help them to feel human and make them see things human in front of their patients, because at the end they are. And for me, that's wonderful. And I'm being lucky that I get to work with dentists that really believe in that, and the way they architect things. I have connections with their team, like I work with them in the office, like they're my friends, like they text me, we text with emojis and things. I'm always there. And so is that bond that helps them to, like you just said, feel like I want to go to work tomorrow, Monday, So I always tell the dentist, I said, you need to make them feel that they belong to this project as much as you do. I'll give you an example. So I have a periodontist client in Miami. She purchased this practice for another periodontist. She worked there for many years. Nobody know her name. And then, the first year she was working there and all that stuff. And then the second year she took over completely. And so before that happened, someone mentioned to her, my name to her. And then she contacted me, hey, so someone recommended me, and this is my situation. I say, sure, I can help you. In fact, she's the first Venezuelan doctor I ever worked with. So for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I never worked with a Venezuelan doctor before. I just worked with Americans. So this is wonderful. And then I said, well, we need to do a rebrand. because this brand is not you. Now we need to represent this. We need to make this office be you. And that was a long process because for her, it was kind of mentally difficult to see. Like, okay, she purchased it, but she couldn't really grasp how her logo could look like, or the colors, or the voice, or how she wanted to be perceived. And it was a lot of back and forth that we did. And then when we finally came out with the brand, she goes, that is exactly me. And the brand was so successful that when I presented the new brand to the team, her hygienists were like, oh my God, this is amazing. How can we help you? Like these two hygienists have been working in their practices for decades, and they were loyal to the other doctor. Now they're loyal to this new doctor. You know how hard that is? Because
Mm,
they get used to someone else and they fall
yeah.
in love. They feel so connected with what we created that they feel part of this. And so that was something that they're like, yeah, we are all on it with this. And they're loyal to that. And that's great.
Is that one of those cases that on your LinkedIn page you said
Yeah.
you've got 65 to 361% results in terms of revenue growth? 361%, that's a huge growth. And
Yeah.
you mentioned neuroscience. So that was the neuroscience
Yes.
analyzing who they are and bringing
Yes.
that to the market.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
funny how some people don't even know that
Yes.
they're making that mistake, that they're not connecting who they are with
Mhm.
what the market wants.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm doing the same thing right now. We are rebranding an ortho practice in the state of Chicago, and he's been practices for 30 years. And then he's been doing just clear aligners for many, many years, like 20 something years. And then when we started working together, I saw that he had two websites, which is two brands. And then to me it looks like he's running his own thing. So then I start asking questions. So what do you think about this, and why do you have this website here, and what is this way? So I presented the idea of what if we unify and make one brand. And so I explained to him the reason behind it. Why is that beneficial for him? And so when you had two brands, different names and logos and feel and voice, but the same doctor, patients don't recognize that, right? So they don't actually create a personal bond with them. And so I said, if you want right now, not only that, but also you are talking to different generation. You're not talking to the same generation you talked 30 years ago. You're talking to a different generation now. So I think it's time for you to modernize and change the voice to talk to these new people. And then we started the process on doing that. And then when their team saw the mock-up, we're still in the process of building the website. When the team saw the mock-up, they were like, oh my God, yes. And they feel identified with it. But that was a lot of back and forth. Like I do long questionnaires on this particular client was like, oh my God, you made me work hard. I say, yes, because sometimes you don't even understand your own business. Like you don't know really why I'm doing this. Like sometimes I ask her, so why do you become a dentist? And they're, what? Yeah, because you do something is mechanic, right? But I made them see it and be like, yeah, I really want to focus on this because because sometimes I see so many dentists, they lose their passion for what they do because they're just focused so much on the problems, their depths, their wrong patients and whatnot. But then they forgot what they do. And so that's when things go down the hill quite fast. And this doctor, when they saw the new brand, they were like, this is amazing. And it's not only, it's their job. I just helped them to get there. You know what I mean? And so I
Yes.
feel like the guide for them to do that. And that's going to be a very excited brand because I personally love it. I think is very bold brand. It really represents the doctor personality. His team has been working for them for decades. I mean, which is really rare to find team members that stay in an office and a dental practice for so long in the United States, and they're loyal to him. And he had very great reviews online. And so now it's about to start touching other markets, talking to other new generation, new families. And so, and yeah, and I think that's why I call it the neuroscience portion, because it's not only about, okay, let me take a look at your numbers, which I do. let me strategize what we're going to do this year in terms of marketing strategy. It's about why we're going to do it, like where, what kind of voice we're going to use, what keywords are we going to use, how are you closing treatment plannings, how you made the patient remember your name when they leave the office, things like that they're so simple but sometimes so hard to achieve. And that's why I call it neuroscience marketing, because I kind of help them and guide them through that process.
When you just mentioned it then very briefly, when you're working with an office, how do you help them improve their case presentation and their closing percentages? What's your secret in helping those team members to become better at helping the patients get the treatment that the doctor tells them they need, they know they need, but something gets in the way? How do you help the staff, the team overcome that?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I notice is the lack sometimes of empathy, right? I have seen a lot of treatments like, $35,000, $50,000 dental treatment. That's a huge amount of money to pay, right?
Yeah.
And so what my practice is like, number one, empathy. Okay. You cannot just come to the room with a $50,000 treatment plan. What you're gonna do is like, okay, so this has been the doctor evaluation, and we're going to divide the treatment plan in phases. And so the first phase is going to be this phase. The first phase is always going to be the healing process, which is either extraction, either gum disease, either any of those. And so when they approach that by phase, and you tell them, we're going to start by this step because we want to protect you on this and this. Let's say that the patient have 6 to 7 millimeter pocket. That patient needs, it have periodontal disease, and most likely probably is taking her medication, probably had pre-diabetics and things like that. So the treatment coordinator in this case need to learn that, because when they go to the chair and they be like, hey, we wanted to start the process with this because we want to help you with this and these steps first, instead of just go and be like, it's going to be $50,000. And so you're going to go and well, let's start with phase one. The phase one is going to be, we're going to do this. We're going to do either extraction, bone grafted, or whatever the case might be, because we want for that area to be healthy first, because we want for you to be healthy first, because everything is about them. It's not about the doctor's time. It's not about the money. It's not about the insurance. It's about the overall health being of that patient. And the biggest problem is what I mentioned before, that the population has lost respect for dentistry because they just think that they just want my money.
Yes.
And why they think that way? Because that's how they communicate that to the patient. And so it's not about being negative and scare the patient. Hey, you know what? If you don't extract that freaking tooth, this is what's going to happen, which it will happen. I mean, I can tell you from my own experience, I have a very bad cavity when I was a kid. I had no money to go to the dentist. I have a giant access, and I have my face like I have a baseball ball in my mouth. I know how painful that is. And so it's about the office to educate the patients from the beginning. It's not about how much you're going to pay us, not about how much the insurance is going to pay us. It's what this treatment is going to be beneficial for you, and we want the best for you. It's about for that treatment coordinator to put themselves in the shoes and be like, how would you feel if I come to this chair and tell you that you need to pay $50,000? So when I talk to them, I told them that way. And I moved them from on the treatment coordinator, no, now you're a patient. So how would you like for me as a treatment coordinator to approach you to let you know that you have a treatment of $50,000? And so when you bring the human connection back, they kind of shift that mentality and be like, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't like it. And I always said, we always see a lot of senior people in a dental chair. And I always be like, always think, could be your mom, could be your grandma, could be your grandpa, that's going to be you at the end. So because dentistry, it moves so fast that you sometimes forget that you're actually dealing with humans. That maybe that patient that morning, it have a bad weekend or whatever, or you have a bad weekend. So you need to sometimes to reflect and not let that, be in the weight of your work. But we need to understand sometimes that patients can be rude. Yeah, because I deal with them, also. But, we also have to understand that they're human the same as us, and be like, okay, if I don't feel comfortable right now, let me get out of the room for a moment, breathe, and be like, okay, what would I do if I was that person? So is that psychology behind it? Sometimes it's hard because I've been in their shoes. I mean, like when a patient is rude to you, when you're like, oh my God, there was one time a guy that he didn't want for me to be his assistant because he didn't understand my accent. So he wanted me out of the room because of that. And so it's about to understand those things, right? And it's hard to do that. But when you're dealing with people in a healthcare setting, you need to be able to be empathetic 100%. You can be very smart and know everything. But if you're not empathetic with your patients, you're in the wrong job, at least for
Yeah,
me.
of course, of course. Yeah, everybody there is a human first, but as you mentioned, a lot of dentists just look at patients as being teeth and credit cards, and
Yeah.
that's all they're interested in. Have they got a credit card? Yeah, I can fix their teeth, and that's not it. It's about the relationships.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
my office, I was there for 28 years in the one location. I haven't lived in a house that long. When I left it, it was more than half my life in one location. I just can't fathom that I was there for so long, and that's a generation and a half. The children that were coming to me had grown up and were having their own children, and that's that relationship that you have. And when you have those relationships with people, even in a specialist environment, you know,
Yeah.
periodontists, anybody who goes to a periodontist, they're never cured. They're always got to be maintained. That's a
Right.
long-term relationship, a long-term relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's how I met them. That's what I mean. For me, like for instance, I had never done any sales. I never run any promotion. I never look for any leads. All my clients and the people that know me because I come from referrals. Somebody referred me to them. And
Mm,
that what that means is that I had developed so strong relationships within the dental industry in the United States for more than a decade that people remember my name. But not only my name in an ego way, like, oh my God, no. And because I made them feel something different,
mm.
And so that's how I connected with my client. That's why I attract the clients that work with me because I go beyond a brand, beyond a name, beyond fonts and colors and marketing and strategy. I made them understand this is you brand. Your brand need to, this is how you want for your practice to grow. And so it's an incredible thing for me to do because I can help them see things that they never saw before behind the numbers, behind the ROI, behind all that. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, she's right. So
Well,
it's cool.
that's exactly what a coach does. Is they help their 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 client, be it a sports star or a business person, see the things behind that have the metrics to be tweaked to create great improvement. And
Exactly.
just what you just said then before that, how you get all your business from referral. That's
Mm,
how I came across you because I saw the conversations that you were having with Elizabeth Kateska, who used to work for me as a dental
mhm.
receptionist and is now a coach. And I saw the respect that you both had for each other. I
Yes.
thought, here's somebody who's impacting on Elizabeth, and let me find out a bit more. So that's again, that warm referral sort of relationship that you and I now
Yes.
have. And
Yes.
hopefully, even there'll be people who'll watch this and listen to this podcast and they go, how do I get in touch? So there's a good question. We're getting towards the end of our time, Yoli, and we could
Yeah.
probably talk for another hour. If anyone's interested in finding out about how they can work with you, because I do have listeners and viewers in the United States as well as
Yeah.
around the world, what's the best way for them to find you?
So they can go to my website, which is yolidick.com. I have they can email me through there and they can also find me in LinkedIn. They can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So I have to say I have been separate from LinkedIn for a while, but because I'm being busy taking care of my clients. So I know that marketer that is like, not nothing against my colleagues, but the people waste so much time being online I have too much work to do to make my clients happy that in fact, that's the reason why I haven't been able to connect with Elizabeth again because I have to start writing. But yeah, yolidick.com and then LinkedIn, send me a message and then I will get back, as soon as I can. But yeah, that's the best way to look for me.
Yoli, it's been great hearing your story and what an amazing journey you've had. And it's interesting. It's not over. That's the best
No.
part. Anyone who connects with you now gets to experience the future, and the future
Yes.
looks as exciting as the path that you've come from to be where you are now. So I've really enjoyed our chat,
Thank you.
I'm going to look forward to following your successes and definitely be recommending you to any dental specialists that I know in the United States who who need a little bit of extra advice, that extra pair of eyes, that extra mind to have a look over some of the things they're doing to help them improve, because you certainly do have a
Yeah.
superpower, and I can see the benefits that your clients are going to have. So, Yoli Dick, thank you very much for being a
Thank you.
guest today on the Ultimate Dental
Thank you.
Podcast. Really enjoyed our chat. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much, Dr. Moffat. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of our dental community and joining us each week on this incredible journey. If you found value in today's episode and you don't want to miss out on future episodes packed with expert insights and actionable strategies, here's how you can stay connected with us. Firstly, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're listening on your favorite podcast platform or watching on our website, subscribing ensures you'll never miss an episode. Secondly, share the love. If you know a fellow dentist or colleague who could benefit from the wisdom and knowledge that we share here, please share our podcast with them. Also, please share the podcast on your socials by simply clicking on the social icons wherever you view or listen to this podcast. Together, we can all do our bit to elevate the dental profession. And finally, stay engaged with us. We love hearing from you. Your questions, comments, and feedback fuel our mission to provide the best content for your professional growth, your personal growth, and for your practice growth. Remember, your journey to creating a dental practice and a business life that you love is our mission, and we're excited to be your trusted guide along the way. Thank you for being a part of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and keep on tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast.